Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Pinball Arcade. Last time we played Whodunit and we actually found out through the operating manual in the Pro mode, which is still fairly useless, that some of these tables are not configured to the factory defaults. That being said, I just watched a video that said don't configure your pinball tables to the factory defaults because they usually try to average a ball in such a way that it will only play for about 2.5 minutes versus 5 minutes per ball, um, or longer. And certainly there's been plenty of pinball tables I've played where I've gone 30-40 minutes on a good game, and uh, even bad games tend to not immediately drain out with every single ball. Now, there have been a lot of tables we've seen that have some pretty awful angles, at least for my play style, that have cheap drain outs. That doesn't have much to do with Junkyard, but it does certainly highlight some issues as far as uh, where the default settings might be targeted towards greedier um, arcade owners than more lenient arcade owners who are trying to make a fun experience. And that might certainly be in line with the state of pinball in general, and in part why it died, and in part why it was extremely slow to even begin to start to come back, and in part why it hasn't really succeeded amazingly well. Stern's apparently at one point introduced a whole new system for connecting components called the spike system that was a major improvement from an old style computer chip technology that would look like something from a 1990s at earliest or computer into something closer to a micro-controlled, custom-built surface mount soldered circuit board that is closest, I would say, to something like an Arduino or a custom built component system. And inherently, there is a danger in having something like the spike system where you have circuit boards with LEDs soldered onto them, in the fact that if those are still custom pieces and they're not cheaply made, then you've not really reduced the cost to the end user. You've maybe only reduced the cost to the production company of Stern themselves. Plus, the vibration of a pinball table is quite unique amongst electronics. Like, the only other thing that vibrates quite a lot would be servers with hard drives, and people know that and try very hard to reduce the vibration of spinning hard drives in large clusters in servers, whereas everything else technology wise has gone away from anything that really has a motor or anything that really moves and makes vibration, with the exception of speakers that don't make enough vibrations for anything to really affect anything. So you I guess the Nintendo Joy-Cons might be a good example, and controllers might be a good example of technology there, where if you're not careful, you're going to wear out something. So yeah, I as I think about it, I think the Spike 2 system probably could easily be replaced with a Spike 3 system that could address a lot of the issues and bring down the cost for replacement parts a lot more for the end user. But there's also some other concepts that would probably be well improved and added into pinball that are just non-existent. For instance, nowadays, pretty much just having a wireless charger on a phone for cell phones would probably be a great feature for every pinball table, and it wouldn't really relatively add that much, considering pinball tables are still fairly expensive. Having plastic sides instead of wooden sides is probably worth doing, because that would reduce the weight and shipping quite a bit, and you could easily accomplish that today with somewhat modern technology and just have like a metal frame for rigidity and then plastic all along the side art. Yeah, I kind of need a tap to pay feature, credit card type feature. Otherwise, you're going to constantly push people back to going to change making machines or putting money on cards, special cards that aren't connected to card readers or credit card readers, which that was what I saw in the last arcade that I ever went to, that still used money. Was I had to load up a ridiculous amount of money onto a plastic magnet stripe card, and then all of the pinball arcades and arcade machines in general, instead of having coin readers, had this card reader, and you could never get any money off the card, and you had to put a minimum of like $10 on the card. So like a one-time visit while on vacation to an arcade was completely overpriced and insane, and I had like $8 on that card by the time I was done 2 hours into it, because I'd won so many free games on pinball. So I ended up just giving away the card itself to somebody, on top of giving away several free games to also random standard buys. And I don't want to sell it like I'm a great pinball player, but I kind of am a good pinball player, obviously. I've gotten some really high scores on these tables. Let's hop in the junkyard though, instead of me just rambling.
Don't even think about touching my crane!
One of the things that the Spike 2 system, or systems like that, where you would have surface mount soldered LEDs, that's completely unnecessary by modern technology. It may have been something that would have made sense like 5 years ago, but now it is so common to have LED strip lightings that people run around the perimeter of the rooms or put behind their TVs or anything like that, and there's fairly decent standardization there, that you could get one long strip of LEDs with individually addressable colored LEDs on that strip, and just run those strips on the bottom of a pinball table and use those as lights. And you could easily, without even having to cut the strips and resolder the strips, if it's really not worth the effort and the time, you could just run a long convoluted spiral pattern around the board and turn on only a few lights and leave all the other LEDs always off, and it wouldn't really cost you that much to do that, because you're talking potentially $30 for a long strip of individually addressable LEDs. Particularly if you're buying it wholesale, you probably could get cheaper, and then you're probably going to have to pay somebody $10 an hour to cut those and resolder those strips if you wanted to move from one place to the other, where it may not be worth it, and it may just be easier to just have a ton of LEDs not used. The beauty of that kind of system too is because of the way they've manufactured LED strips, is that you can cut them pretty much anywhere. Some of the cheaper ones you can only cut them every fourth LED or so, but if one LED for some reason was faulty or a problem, then you can cut out that one LED and do some wiring later on, have a repairman do that to replace it, or you could cut out the 1 or 4 at the front and rotate the whole system and just snake it down the channel, and then you'd be using a whole new set of LEDs. And then that would greatly reduce the amount of wiring inside the pinball tables. That really brings it down to, and we should be looking at the table while I talk about this. Let's read this first. Junkyard 1996 is billed as the meanest game on the whole downtown. in the whole darn town, designed by Barry Osler and Dwight Sullivan. This table challenges players to escape Crazy Bob's junkyard. This is accomplished by collecting pieces of junk to build various contraptions, going on wild adventures, and ultimately launching into outer space to take on Crazy Bob. The playfield has many great features, including the great toilet, the magic bus, the mean old Spike, the dog, and the moving crane. It's not hard to play in the yard. 3,113 units of this table were produced. Yep. And see, you would think on this table, before I get back to my rambling, that there would be just kind of this great fear that this ball attached to this chain would get hit and swing up and hit the top glass. But in as much as I played this probably for, I think I played this for 4 or 5 months on almost a 3 or 4 days a week basis, I never saw the ball get that high. It's kind of hard to give it that much momentum, because if you were going to hit it, you almost certainly were going to hit it up so that the ball would hit one of these upper card targets, which are very hard shots to actually pull off, and that would stop the ball. Otherwise, you'd have to figure out a way for the ball to hit off like a side bumper so hard that it would hit it vertically, and that it would swing and be propelled out with enough force that it would swing to the side and then hit all the way up to the glass. And it's just unlikely to happen. Here you have the great toilet, which it's just a ramp, goes up and sinks down here, and then I think it gets ejected somewhere else. I don't think you actually come in from the top of the toilet, so that's all just kind of artistic bluster. You actually come in from the bottom, which is kind of a great idea, because then you don't have to worry about the ball actually getting stuck or anything there. You just make it look like it's going down the toilet. Then we have another ramp that goes back this way, and I think it loops back and maybe drops down over here. And then we've got one that hits a scoop and then gets popped back up, which we haven't seen a lot of that, where pop-ups knock you back into the in lane. They are feeding into the in lane above the switches, which I prefer. There is a doghouse. It seems like you'd have to sneak the ball into this doghouse. Kind of a great use of empty space. A lot of toys in this one. There's a VW van. And then there's a ramp way back here. Then I guess this actually goes this way if you hit it hard enough for a longer shot. But your main simulating shot is here. Effectively, this ball on the chain is a captive ball. So it will, like all captive balls, take a lot of the force. So as long as you shoot up the lane and hit it, you should be fine. Plus you've got very angled shots as far as standing targets, drop down targets around here, the edges that would probably stop the ball from limply falling back down here. That was another thing I heard, is someone made the suggestion that the back legs should be as high as possible and that the angle should be as high as possible on the table. That way the ball rolls down fast. That way you have more power to flip it back. I think that is more of a pro player's opinion, honestly. Though I think a little bit of an adjustment there can go a long way to make it a little bit easier to hit a ball all the way up here. And this is a table where you would want to get this swinging out of the way so you could sneak the ball back through that center lane shot. Otherwise you're not going to be able to almost ever get that. Here you have a refrigerator. It's very common stories of kids crawling into refrigerators and getting trapped, although they've stopped building refrigerators really in such ways that they can easily be trapped. There still are quite a lot of ways for that to happen, though. Even if you don't have latches on refrigerator doors anymore, it's still easy enough to close a door on someone who's climbed in it and then have the whole refrigerator fall over, thus making it impossible to lift the backside of an elevator, which is too heavy for yourself. Here we have a launch lane. It's funny to see wear and tear on the virtualized pinball table, but I guess that is probably more accurate. A launch lane here that shoots a spinner and then shoots the ball just into a scoop. So I kind of wonder where the ball gets ejected, but almost certainly it's there with the big flashing siren. So yeah, to get back to my rambling though, so let's say for this table, we were going to retrofit it with one long LED individual addressable thing. What you would do is you would start right here and have one at the exact pitch so that it lit up to shoot again. Then you would go to the auto fire. Then you would go to these two components. Then you would go to this. Then you might snake over this way to this. Then you might go here and here and here. And then you might snake all the way here, 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 and here. And this would just be one long thing. And there's nothing stopping you from, say, getting an LED strip to this point and then saying, all right, now it's going to lift off the board. It's going to turn some bulbs to face the other way, and they're just going to hang. And then you're going to come back and potentially do another row, turn it around, potentially do another row, turn it around, potentially do another row, turn it around, another row, turn around, another row. And then you come back this way, and let's say that accomplishes almost everything except for the strobes. Up to this point, what other lights are there? There's some behind the table for ambient lighting. You would want to address those. There's lights probably somewhere on the table over here that light up when you hit the cars, but not a lot. And what you might want to do for the strobe lights is have individual strobe lights, or you might just want to have probes, light pipes. Yeah, they're called light pipes, not probes, that shoot up all the way from under the table into a strobe light, but you don't particularly have to have that. If it is literally one 4-wire connection to handle the vast majority of the lights on this system, what else do you need to then have to wire? You have to wire the flippers, of course, any kickbacks, any switches, which a single switch on a single circuit board makes a lot of sense. And you could do that with modern technology using what they call IC squared or IC2 or I2C or I squared C. It's mispronounced several ways, I think. But yeah, you could have a specific circuit board made that just had a switch on it that then connected to the next circuit board using IC squared that would then connect to the next board and the next board. You could do the same for strobes if you need to. Otherwise, you don't. Theoretically, you could connect everything IC squared if you want to. There might be a little slow. The spinner counter here is another thing you'd have to wire. Any sinkhole sensors you'd have to wire. Any pop-up things would be their own individual electromagnet shooters, because they are like the auto launchers on plungers. Those still are fairly big pieces of mechanical equipment and fairly specialized, so you really couldn't replace much of them other than to integrate them to work with either a overall IC squared controller board or an individual one. an individual chip, which honestly, an individual chip wouldn't be that expensive, then you might need switch a gate, a different circuit board for these ramp gates, and a different circuit board for the stand-up targets and standing targets. But yeah, on this table, I'm thinking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's say for safety's sake, 15 devices plus one long strip of LEDs, all connected with very short cords in a long chain through IC squared. That would be considerably less wiring than even a modern pinball table or Spike 2 system as I've seen it. And then you would have all of that eventually connect to, they seem to like to put the computers up in the backboard now, close to the screen. And theoretically, the screens, which are now LCDs and not dot matrix displays, would make a lot of sense to be kind of further away from the vibrations. So maybe you make it a little bit more vibration proof and connect it all. Of course, new technology would also want to be added. I'd get rid of these here and have this be the point that has a tap to pay power mag, which is the iPhone standard for wireless charging, and is also, I think, compatible with QI charging. Put something right there so your phone is sitting there. There probably should be an integration to streaming. That way there is, I don't know exactly how you would integrate your streaming, but somebody needs to think of that. It needs to be connected to the internet, and if it sends enough signals, it could very easily send all the signals to an emulator so that a cartoon emulated version of your game would be recorded. But otherwise, if you're going to actually try and stream what's going on, then it might not be the worst idea for there to be straight up a headphone jack and a HDMI video out cord right at the front here. There should be an HDMI, a headphone jack and a USB connector, USB for power, USB also for connecting an accessibility controller so that people could play even if they are missing an arm or something. That's just like new technology that should be in every table, frankly. Is there really a lot of other technology you'd want to do on this? No, not really, just better audio. Don't go crazy. Alright, well, that was very, very rambly, so apologies if you're not interested. And this series has gone particularly long, and so we can see that we've gone that route. This is an interesting flyer in that it has a real picture of a real dog named Spike with a spike necklace. The spike necklaces, by the way, are put on dogs when they are at risk of being attacked by like mountain lions and other large animals. It's literally to stop other animals from biting around the neck of the dog to protect him. Although I wouldn't be surprised if there are some bad dog owners out there that train their dogs to fight and they put the spikes on them just to make them meaner. Yeah, looking at the flyer here, you can see the slight difference in how the table looked in the real world versus how it looks in the emulated version here. But it mostly is the same. Our standard goals are score a super skill shot. Say that 5 times fast. Activate window shopping, complete save the girl, recycle a ball, and earn an extra ball. Let's start playing. So at this moment,
I'm Crazy Bob, and you're trapped in my junkyard.
If the first...
We've got to use the junk to build a flying jalopy. We've got to get out of here.
And let's blow up that crazy Bob too, huh?
You have a devil and an angel on your shoulder. So the spinner above us will tell us what we land on, which is something we haven't seen on a lot of tables and could have been in a lot of tables. It at the very least gives some value to it. So you may get content ID'd for this music, actually, come to think of it. You have a lot of goals you have to accomplish to do the same thing, but the main thing is to get the junk, but certain combinations of junk also will play a role. It was Apollo 18 is the table that has 18 ball multi-ball, or is it called Apollo 13 and 13 ball multi-ball? Either way, it's kind of ridiculous. A magic bus stops the so the lights are just flicking up there at the top. That seems like an unnecessary old-fashioned way of doing things. Remember, we've seen this. I think I want that. But you eventually will figure out how easy it is to get some junk versus other junk. And but like the idea of being a hippie and that's having smoke come out of the air, out of the van, is weird. It's something that's very far away from the don't do drugs, forced FBI messages that they were doing before that point. It's almost as if this table in particular has the attitude of, well, we are gonna go all out on this table and we don't care. We've got angels, we've got devils, we've got drugs, we're doing everything. Remember, Addams Family had the Mamushka mode, so this is a sly reference to the Addams Family.
Choose one.
One of those says free game, so I should be probably targeting that. This table feels slightly weak in the shots, and if I recall correctly, that's pretty much the case in the real world too, is that this table is probably a prime example of a table where you would want to lower the back legs, because typically they have the front legs all the way down and the back legs all the way up. And while I can understand that you don't want the ball to feel floaty, I also have played a lot of tables that just absolutely suck. Here you have a lady in the bathtub being chased by the dog. And this is to save the girl. Alright.
Shoot the dog. Got him.
Okay. So you're shooting the dog.
Spike, you smell. Yeah.
There you go.
Flying machine, assemble.
I don't know if you keep all of the things per ball, but I can tell you that sometimes the crane lines up and that center lane shot is then easier to make instead of bouncing the ball out. I kind of had forgotten about that. So I think I have a hurry up chance right now. to get up there. So we've got crane multiball going on with the auto fire. I don't think that there, in a modern age, would be any real danger of using LEDs, just even off-the-shelf LEDs that you would get in an LED light strip, even like cheap, low-quality Chinese versions of it, because of the flashing. Like in the old days, there might have been an argument against that they might burn out too quickly, but since the pinball industry is not really an industry of selling pinball tables to be on 24/7 for years and years, and if anything, old pinball tables have done a great job of not falling apart over the decades, at least when they're not being burned.
Got him.
You have a limited number of ammo.
Get away from me! Get this dog away from me! Yeah!
I ran out of ammo. So I activated another crane multiball. Like, if you just think about the thought of a theme around a junkyard, there's really not a full concept here that would immediately scream this would be a fun table theme. And I feel like a more recent table that came out was called Oktoberfest, and there was a lot of trepidation around the idea of that theme being bad too, and I think for pinball that's really just the wrong mentality in general. I think good table play can make almost any theme work. Like, you might have some really dumb concepts that would totally not make any sense. Ball recycled. So that one didn't have a kickback, but it still gave me an extra ball, and that's fine.
That's serious firepower.
This is like the third extra ball I've had,
Gentlemen,
and I'm still on the
start
first
your
ball.
jalopies.
Is this a video mode? Nope.
Checkpoint 1. I love fireworks.
I think I'm gonna have to get a high-level angled shot up the center lane. Yeah. This is where having a pitch adjustment
Checkpoint 2.
on
Checkpoint 3.
and not counting against you like you're cheating would really be useful. And this kind of highlights where even owning this table, which is just full of things that might break, although most of the toys on this table you actually don't hit, so there's probably less of a chance of things breaking than you think. And see, ideally you would want to just collect junk, because you don't finish the narrative and the mission on this table unless you collect all the junk, which can get very hard to do that. The ball recycling mode also working very well to save the right out lane, which is not something we've seen on any other table.
We shouldn't be doing this.
Don't listen to her.
you have a nice male and female voice actor doing most of the lines of the dog and most of the call outs. And then you have a dog and the bad guy barely not making a lot of sound. Now I think there's probably a super jackpot if I either hit the crane way up the center lane and bounce the ball, or I can sneak in a center lane shot. Of course, it's fairly hard to maintain center lane shots when you're just trying to avoid total failure.
Come on, hurry, hurry, hurry. Come on, hurry, hurry, hurry.
Yeah, that I would have had to have gotten really lucky to get that shot.
Air tactical combat.
See, I feel like if Twilight Zone as a table would have been a little bit older, it would have had a devil character that looked like that, because there was an episode in Twilight Zone with a devil character like that, but they probably were afraid that they would get boycotted doing that. So that really goes to show where just a couple of years difference made a big difference as far as trepidation and just family friendliness attempts.
Great. Now you need the TV.
Don't listen to him. Get the fishbowl.
So you kind of have a separate goal like that as that is, but you kind of are gonna, I think,
Submerger assembled.
I think you can do both. So I don't think it's a case that you have to really pick.
Got him.
Alright, we gotta be careful.
Shoot the dog. Yeah. Spike, you smell. Get this dog away from me.
Oh man. It's a fairly tough video mode, which we haven't seen a lot of that in pinball. In fact, there's been just kind of a ridiculously high number of tables that should have had video modes and didn't. You don't immediately start a multiball every time you slam the crane. And I applaud that this table isn't going crazy with the video modes, because I think one video mode probably is about as much as you need. You could probably push it to 2 or 3, but a table like this needs multiple reasons why you're shooting the same ramps over and over again to keep you in play and keep you interested.
Nicely done.
So, not a particularly huge score there. I just got 4th place, but a very decent game after 25 minutes of talking. See, yeah, it feels like that was an 18-minute game, which would have, between the 3 balls, on average, given me 5 minutes plus. Although, in all fairness, I did get like 3 extra balls, and just in a vacuum, that felt like a very, very long-running game. We've definitely played games where the balls just drain 3 times. So since we only need the skill shot, let's just try for this, and then we'll drain it out. Before the ball launched, 5 skill shot rewards are shown at the top of the display. When the ball is launched, each turn then spin it, highest which reward is highlighted. Whenever the value lands on that is awarded. Click junk. At any point before or after ball is launched into play, engaging the left flipper cycles clockwise. What junk you'll get. Super skill shot lights the sewer for about 9 seconds. Shoot the sewer before the timer expires to complete the super skill shot. Alright. Okay, so I know what to do then. Unless there's some secret way to ensure super skill shot is your choice. There we go.
Again.
Totally cool boss.
I almost messed that up.
Great. Now you need the hairdryer.
So logically, the next thing to do is just let the ball drain out and just finish the game and let us see the wizard goals. Because if I stupidly activate one of the wizard goals when it's not available, that would be pointless. Yeah, one of the other features I definitely put in a new design of tables is the ability to hold for the status report, which I can barely even do. It doesn't really work unless you know what you're doing. But if you can hold the ball for status report in the flippers and end its momentum, it'll bring up the status report. So with a modern game, what I would do is have an option in there for you to be able to then press the other flipper.
Get the extra ball.
Like, if you could do this, and then it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it now knows that the ball's not moving or hitting anything at this point. So if you could potentially hit the other flipper, and that would save the game, and it would say, are you sure? If you're sure you want to save the game, let the ball drain out right now, and then release it, drain it. At that point, all the lights that are lit, all the save states, all the score, whatever ball you're on gets saved for a month into an internal memory, and then you come back and you put in another quarter and you can continue where you were later on. How does it know you're you? It does it simply by indicating your Bluetooth connection, which that would be a big issue certainly, is if you are going to have Bluetooth enabled on the table, that you could end up having a lot of people fussing with a lot of tables to try and connect to a whole bunch of different tables with the Wi-Fi technology. But I don't think that there's too much you can do with that really to fix that. That's more of a Bluetooth issue than anything else. The only other way I could see identifying you for a save game would be to potentially have you use the flippers to type in a name and type in a passcode, which maybe that works too, and then you don't have to have the Bluetooth feature to identify yourself as a second party authenticator, second factor authenticator. The programming on modern computers, probably compared to regular video games, is probably not that good, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if Stern's current gameplay programmer would not survive in even a small mobile cell phone game development environment. And there probably is a lot of room for pinball companies to acquire small mobile cell phone developers just to make mini games and video modes. So our wizard modes would be score a super jackpot, earn 20 fireworks bonus, score a double doggy feature, become junk champion, and defeat Crazy Bob. And I imagine some of these are somewhat doable. So how do we get a super jackpot? To activate Multiball, first collect the letters of Multiball. A letter in Multiball is collected each time the wrecking ball is knocked into one of the upper tier card targets, which kind of highlights that you're not going to get a bunch of Multiballs on this table. A letter in Multiball is also collected each time the bank of the lower card target is completed here or here. 3 letters in Multiball are collected each time a sneak in is scored, which obviously that would be the best way to do it. Sneak in is worth 100,000 points and is scored by shooting the ball past the lowered wrecking ball into the crane. Once Multiball is completed, Multiball lights at the crane and the wrecking ball rise up. Shoot the crane to activate Multiball. They're calling that center shot the crane. Multiball can automatically be activated by collecting a Start Multiball Magic Bus Award, which that Magic Bus Award is just a mystery wheel reward, but it's nice that it's up at the top of the playfield instead of just a shoot into a sewer scoop, where it usually is on the table, but this table also has that, so it's just being more varied, I think, more than anything. Multiball is a 3-ball mode. It begins with jackpot lit at the crane. To score jackpot, shoot past the wrecking ball and into the crane, and jackpot value starts at a million. Each time an upper card target is hit, it increases the jackpot to 75,000. Jackpot value carries through the game and can be increased up to 3,025,000. Once the jackpot is scored, Super Jackpot lights at the crane. Score Super Jackpot, shoot the ball past the wrecking ball and into the crane. Super Jackpots are worth 3 million. Super Jackpot remains interesting. So, yeah, it seems like the crane is just up the whole time during the multiball, but I didn't feel like it was. And the cutout in the back of the wood there that controls the crane is oddly cut out. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be just a rounded hole or a square instead of a T-shaped pattern. Like, I seriously doubt that the crane calibrates itself by bouncing against the edge of that cutout to make sure it's in the right height and left and right position. Okay. 20 fireworks is fairly easy. Just get fireworks. There are 2 video modes in Junkyard. They're called Run from Spike and Save the Girl. To activate a video mode, first collect all the letters of dog, so get really good at that shot. They can be collected on that ramp from the Magic Bus also. Dog is automatically completed when the toast gun is assembled, so you want the toast gun if you're going to go for that. Each time dog is completed, it also multiplies your into ball bonus, so there's your spelling, which that's in an odd place, but I'm not upset with them changing things around. Which video mode is activated is determined by whether or not the toast gun has been assembled. If the toast gun has not been assembled, video mode is always Run from Spike. If toast gun has been assembled, video mode is Save the Girl. In Run for Spike, your character is shown on the display running from Spike. Okay. The goal is to escape from Spike by alternately engaging the flippers as quickly as possible. So left, right, left, right. If he gets to the edge of the display, he gets away and it scores whatever the current value is. If completing Run from Spike awards the hairdryer, it assembles the toast gun and lights dog at the alley for 15 seconds. Shoot the alley before the timer expires to score the double doggy feature worth 500,000. This also activates Save the Girl video mode. Okay, so that is how we do that. That's fairly difficult. That would take quite a bit of time. Junk Champion would be completing all of the junk. That also is going to take a while because there's 10 pieces, which collecting 10 collectibles potentially also then starting 3 or 4 different modes because you've collected 10 different things. Let's see. Each new game starts with the toaster already collected. Interesting. So it's kind of pointless for you to even say the toaster is a piece of junk other than they just wanted you to always be very close to having the toast gun. It pretty much means the lamp for the toaster is always lit too. Which is not terrible video game design, really, to start people off with a little bit of a start bonus and make them feel like they've accomplished something just for playing. Well, the instructions around collecting junk, though, tell you what modes start when you get certain combinations, or do you have to just kind of know that or learn it? It probably tells you a fairly easy explanation on the blueprints there, which it's nice table art in that it is not going crazy with bright, colorful garbage on the table. Collect all 10 pieces of junk to earn the title Junk Champion that scores 5 million points. Next chapter gives you details on contraptions that are assembled. So there are 4 adventures apparently that you need to do. Collecting the hairdryer, the toaster assembles the toast gun. If you hit that and you have 5 pieces of toast, you'll get fireworks. Interesting. How do you get toast? Oh, I guess maybe you get toast left, whatever toast is left over. Collecting the television, the weather vane assembles the radar. This lights the sewer to activate radar adventure. And okay, let's just look at the table because this will be easier to figure out, won't it? Yeah. There's radar, Great Jalopy Race, Great Toilet Adventure, and Air Tactic Combat, and then Outer Space, which obviously is the final thing. And let's see. Getting this basic vehicle requires wheels and the bathtub and the fan. Getting the propeller starts air tactical combat when you have the other 3, or this and the bathtub. Yeah, so the art does just explain it. The cuckoo clock seems to start the time machine, and I'm not sure what that really does. Nor do I really know what starts the Great Toilet Adventure. Oh, I almost certainly it's the It's the fishbowl and the propeller are needed for the toilet adventure, or maybe just a fishbowl separately. So you want the toast gun first, then you want this, or the radar, and then you start to get the other things if you really are going to try for everything. But honestly, you pretty much should try for everything. Final adventure is called Outer Space. The goal of this adventure is to defeat Crazy Bob and escape the junkyard. Although if you can make it to outer space, why can't you escape the junkyard? Outer Space can only be activated after the other 4 adventures have been played, and you've become junk champion by collecting all 10 pieces of junk. I don't think I ever made it anywhere close to that when I played this table. I don't think I did particularly well on this table when I did play it, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. Really is just like a great design. And it does also make a great argument that it's not about theme, it's about creativity in the gameplay and game flow. This is just a mostly standard fan layout of shots, but the shots are good. The theme could be replaced with something easily. It's not a big license to any movie or anything like that. The voice acting is great. It's got some decent call outs. So you shoot that to start the adventure. By activating outer space, it's important to make sure you've collected enough fireworks. The more fireworks you collect before activating the mode, the longer you have to defeat Crazy Bob. There's several ways to collect fireworks. Blah, blah, blah. So your long-running goal is to get fireworks for that reason only. Otherwise, it didn't really make sense that you would be collecting fireworks at all. It feels like you're just sneaking into a junkyard to set off fireworks like a kid. And your main character doesn't really give off the idea that he's a kid. If anything, he's a crazy college kid inventor at youngest. Aerospace is a 4-ball multi-ball. Auto fire remains lit for the duration of the mode, so any balls that drain are automatically relaunched. The goal is to defeat Crazy Bob by completing all 5 lit shots before you run out of fireworks. So shoot the Great Toilet, the Magic Bus, the alley, and the sewer, and the Wrecking Ball. Same shots. Knocking the Wrecking Ball into any of the upper car targets, not just the one where Crazy Bob looks most likely to be hit. Or by shooting the crane. After about 20 seconds, a shot that's been completed will relight. Wow, so you've got to get really lucky on 5 different shots. If you run out of fireworks before completing all the lit shot, Crazy Bob escapes. Whether you win or lose outer space, all the adventures remain lit, allowing you to play them again in order. Your firework count resets, but all the pieces of junk collected and all contraptions that have been assembled are saved. Okay. That doesn't seem super crazy for a table.
I'm Crazy Bob, and you're trapped by junkyard.
I kind of like more of an explanation as to how I'm trapped in the junkyard when I can fly away. But that's just a storyline complaint, really. This is kind of a nice table because you can just pull back the plunger as far as you want.
Don't listen to her. Get the weather vane.
I think Junkyard is a great table for new players to practice center lane shots. It is.
Pick something.
Let's get the weather vane. That'll start the radar station.
Radar. Assemble.
But yeah, this is a great table to really focus and want to practice on the center lane shots. I think for new kids, all games being free mode makes a lot of sense anyways though, so. And since so many arcades nowadays are just pay the cover and everything's set to free play anyways, playing a table like this is pretty great.
That's serious firepower.
You got the breaking glass sound effect like somebody's just going into the junkyard to smash cars, which is dangerous.
Rats.
Far out. No way.
You want to be fairly careful not to accidentally have the ball drain because I'm too late to a shot. Alright, so
Maybe I got a new phone.
this is another case where using a Xbox One controller
Maybe I got a new
to press the buttons
Nice doggy. That's smart.
is not as good as pressing the actual buttons on a pinball. So like I was trying my very best, but the throw and just how far your button presses and how slow your button presses are on a controller just don't compare.
Oh, that's great.
Which I think that is probably a huge testament to
Nice
either
shot.
how good I am at pinball or how well they've sneakily adjusted the difficulty in the emulation here so that one can actually succeed at playing pinball with the total wrong type of input. And in all fairness to Pinball Arcade, as much as it does have bugs and problems and doesn't seem like it's being worked on at all anymore, at the very least they did manage to get a final product to a cell phone for cell phone modes and
Hairdryer.
console versions of these games or similar pinball emulations.
Far out.
Multiball
It
is
manages to not also irritate, I'd say, by calling out too often. It says now get the hairdryer and that's it. So if it wants to remind me to get the hairdryer, it's going to take a minute or two. And it just lets you listen to the music. Which I'd be very surprised if I turned on the menu music and found out that it was playing some other music on top of the music here. One of the things about the shots when you're trying to go up the center lane is you kind of want the ball to go about halfway there so that you can
Let's get out of here.
change the angle that it's going to
What
fall
does
down
she
from
know anyway?
and then hit it back upward.
Who's out there?
You don't want it coming straight down. So you kind of have to get a half flip if you're going to be a pro about it. But in the middle of a multi-ball, do you really have time for that shot? Or do you just want to try to keep everything in play?
One more chance.
it is a very tight shot up to the crane. Like for the full length of the table, that could be, you could remove those bumpers on the edge, and that's really why those bumpers are there, is that for some pin owners to decide they want to get rid of them or move them. Often under a bumper, maybe two or different three holes, and you can move them from one point to another point to make very subtle changes.
Got him.
I have 30 ammo,
Yeah.
which
Spike, you smell. Got him.
so I went from like 30 ammo down to 19 ammo.
Wonderful. That's great.
And now we're in a quick multi-ball. I don't even know what mode I'm actually in. I guess that was a crane multi-ball. And this definitely is a game that it's going to be in the totality of your skill. Like getting those 10 items, getting the junk. Interesting, it says welcome back because you started the game
Great.
fairly
Now you
quickly.
need the hairdryer.
Which it's kind of nice to have a table say welcome back. I mean, you could say that even if it's your first time ever playing the table, and people aren't going to be upset about that. So, with 3 launches, if you could say, I always want to collect junk, that would get you 3, but you need 7 more, and that's a lot of shots. I don't know how many different modes there are on the time machine, but a night mission to me screams like they are making a reference to the Black Knight table. Multiball lit fairly early in the table in this game. There definitely have been some tables where there was a lot of focus on just building up your end of ball bonus, and it is just like, oh, they want me to do it again. Alright, well, I don't think I'll be able to pull that off.
I don't think we should do this.
But by having your goal be collect trash items,
What's going on
you then have more of a personal connection to it, instead of it just being like, alright, get another 1,000 in the end of ball bonus and then get your score multiplier. Like, I don't even know what the end of ball bonus for having collected the hairdryer would be. Yeah, the crane is in the way, so I don't know how you really are supposed to have been able to get the multi-ball there. The super jackpot. Because it's in the way enough that I could still hit it. It's a fairly low scoring table too.
Return. Now get the TV.
Now you need the hairdryer.
She's gonna push you towards the hairdryer each first collectible. And I wish I knew what caused the ball to be recycled, because that would be a little bit nice if that was recycled a little bit more.
Hurry, pick something.
And it tells you exactly what to collect, actually.
Radar assembled.
Unless you're gonna make a special effort to not collect something, you can just easily pick the default thing. And with the exception of the double doggo mode, there's really, I don't think, any real reason why you wouldn't want to collect everything as fast as possible. Activating new modes seems like an easy way to then get more pieces of junk to activate other modes. So there's a whole strategy, it feels like, that could exist here, where you would,
Great. Now get the hairdryer.
where you'd potentially know exactly what path you were going to take to collect what items.
Radar adventure.
And this keeps everything varied enough that it totally makes sense that you would want to start the modes and shoot some other shots instead of the center shot. I could definitely see while designing this table there could have been a huge fear that there's just kind of nothing going on here. This is much like that billiard table that had the giant cue ball and the giant 8-ball, where they are committing a lot of space, in this case kind of empty space, to a gimmick, where otherwise there could have been 3 pop-up bumpers, which they notice there are no pop-up bumpers on this table, and I can't say I'm missing in this case, because you've got a decent exchange otherwise with the crane gimmick. There's no upper playfield gimmick, which a lot of people don't like anyways. There's no talking head gimmick. I mean, I could name every gimmick certainly, but alright. I'm gonna try this again with my thumbs.
Yeah, boy. Maybe I got a milk phone. Nice
So I've put my thumb, I put my thumbs on the right and left triggers and was pressing that instead of using.
Choose one.
Yeah, I don't think free game ever lights up there.
Fireworks collected.
I was paying attention only to trying to get free game. I didn't even look to see if it would have made sense to try to collect something else, like some junk. We're seeing some of these angles sometimes bounce off. Like, this would be a table I would much prefer to actually own and be able to tweak the pitch, tweak the angles. And that might be very blasphemous to say that I'd buy a table like this. It's probably pretty expensive, relatively speaking, for pinball, to immediately know that I'm gonna make non-standard modifications to it to make it even easier.
Come on, get the extra ball.
And I personally wouldn't mind if this was a 5-ball game. It's a good game at a 3-ball game, so it would be a good game at a 5-ball game, probably. I may change my opinion on that eventually, but there definitely is a different feeling when you own something and you're playing it for free, as far as how valuable each individual game of pinball is, versus, oh, I just want to start over from scratch and play another set of 3 balls. But all tables, we've seen this while we were cheating, eventually hit a point of being boring. And when you hit that point of being boring, there's not a lot of desire there to keep on playing.
Multiball is lit. I love fireworks.
If I can literally get either shot.
Yeah, boy. Maybe I got a milk ball.
I don't think you're actually
That dog will be toast now.
I don't think you actually hit them alternating. I don't think you're supposed to hit the flippers alternating. I think you're supposed to actually... There's the double doggy feature.
Yeah! Got him! Shoot the dog! Yeah!
There we go. I'm getting really good at the video modes. Can certainly help you. I'd still need like 3 collectibles to get all the junk. And I think about 3 modes. And the setup of like having 10 fireworks is not useful. Ideally, I need the ball to go in that sewer.
No way! Far out!
Jalopy, assembled.
I feel like you could probably repaint the jalopy, the magic bus, better. It's just solid blue originally, where having painted hippie flowers on the side of it would be more accurate to the visuals and would work, I think, better. Also, I suppose this is another table, or I think almost any table, severely benefits from having the post-market modification of having a color dot matrix display installed. Which I still don't feel like the connectors to the dot matrix displays are connecting like all the computer circuitry of the game, so it's not like you're replacing all of the brains of the computer and adding color. So it's got to be doing something really crazy.
Totally cool boss.
Still need that. There we go, finally. That's all I've been trying to do for the past 2 minutes, is just get the extra ball.
Checkpoint 1.
Fireworks detected. Those are dangerous.
So I'm trading all my toast in for fireworks. Which I hope that's a good thing. You would think the game would just convert all your toast to fireworks automatically instead of having another standing target. I think that's how I'd prefer it to work.
Those will be handy.
Far out.
I guess we'll do the danger center lane shots.
No way.
I think this is a table that has some potential for frustration for sure. Like though, I mean, if you're just if you're just constantly trying for those center lane shots and you're not getting them, and while we're in multiball mode, I don't know how many other things we can get. I did have to sneak the ball in there to get a super jackpot, which I do believe that's pretty much how that always works. Are we shooting anything else at the moment though? No, I don't think we are.
Come on, hurry.
So unless I want to...
You're all right.
Alright.
Nicely done. Well done.
So we have like a crane multi-ball at the moment.
Hurry, pick something.
Toxic waste. I don't know what that is. This feels like nothing. Just a simple score reward. That upper board score reward is weird.
The Great Toilet Adventure!
If I get really lucky here, we may actually make it all the way to outer space. But that would be crazy. Because that'd be new to me.
Fireworks collected.
Also, pretty much saves me any hassle as far as trying to cheat it. The only piece of junk left, if I have another ball, is the thank goodness. This is one of those tables that actually does save the ball for you. If you hit something far up on the table, it gives you a brief second.
Totally cool ball.
Select something.
Apparently I'm missing the time machine.
Assemble.
Alright, so I want to sink the ball into the sewer without draining out the out lane. There's only like 3 levels of this?
Got him. Yeah. Yeah. Got him.
Interesting.
Spike, you smell. Yeah.
I won, but I'm using like a ridiculous amount of there's Junk Champion. I'm just using a ridiculous amount of toast to do it. Which I guess the idea would have been that there should have been a ridiculous amount of toast. And see, from game to game, it would be really nice at this point to be able to either buy an extra ball or have all the junk collected, and then you could start over.
Well done.
See, that was just high score 3. And this is a table I think I could easily play for another hour or 2. After about that, I think I probably would be very bored with it. Not a high scoring table at all. The highest score is only slightly above 100 million, which I like that. Honestly, I think the score should come down another tenfold, and you should have scores that end in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Earn 20 fireworks bonus and defeat Crazy Bobs. This almost certainly is a matter of time, just getting enough fireworks and focusing on that. And defeating Crazy Bob may be fairly hard, but not insanely hard. Let's go and look in the area. Apparently when you open the coin doors on pinball tables, they automatically run a test, so that's what it's doing. I didn't quite figure that out. Alright, adjustments. Feature adjustments. So, yeah. In free play, being able to buy an extra ball, or in the emulation, being able to buy an extra ball totally would be nice. The number of times you can buy in being the maximum would be nice. 3 ball saves being off, I guess, probably means that you can have an unlimited number of ball saves. Times plunger being off. Well, wait a minute. No. It's ball saves is just setting 3 of A2's menu. So ball saves being on would be nice. Flipper plunger being on sometimes is useful. Special mode is on. Let's see. The attract mode bong sounds are off. Extra ball percentage chance, turn that down. I saw someone say that they want it somewhere around 20 to 30% to get an extra ball or a replay. Multiball percentage, probably want to turn that down too. Recycle difficulty, probably want that on easy. Euro time machine, probably don't want that. Window awards, no game. See, so by default, it is set to not actually give you a free game. Let's see if we... No, both. Normal would be the factory setting. See, they've done it differently. For this, family mode is no, which I don't know what you would change much in family mode. Maybe you don't put the girl in the bathtub. Maybe you... I don't see how you get rid of the devil completely, but I guess you could. You could change all the video elements and have a different image on the slingshot bumpers. But if you're going to get rid of the devil, then it probably would just be the angel talking to you the whole time. Which that might work. Disable crane would kind of suck. Not a lot of options, but I wasn't really expecting a lot of options. Whereas 5 balls per game for this game makes a lot of sense. If we could come in here and bring it up to 5 or 6. Apparently you can have as many as 10 balls and as few as 1. Tilt warnings 3. I think for me, tilt warnings 3 is fine. For some players, that's not. A max number of extra balls being 4. Turn that to off. I assume would be something I would prefer to do. Max extra balls, I guess, can be 10. Yeah, I feel like nowadays, if you're getting a cover charge and people are just playing a game infrequently, a pinball table like this is probably not going to get super long lines. You might, as an arcade owner, realize that like on Friday nights when you have a big rush of kids come into an arcade, you might need to turn a game a little bit more difficult so that there isn't a long line of people forming. But I've seen plenty of arcades where there are arcade machines that just never get played at all, even if there are lines to other machines anyways. So, and I've seen plenty of arcades that are mostly empty. So making it easier and having a good time is the general idea. That being said, if you look at like Disneyland, Disney World, places like that, those are incredibly expensive places with lots of long lines that still manage to keep people's attention and keep most people happy. So long lines may not really connect directly towards a good experience at all. Yeah, I think I would be a fairly generous arcade owner if I were to own an arcade. I'd be fairly generous until the point where I can't pay my bills, and then I might be a little bit more greedy. And I probably would tweak a lot of things too. One of the arguments I certainly heard was set your boards when you first set them up in a location to be very generous, and then if you start to get complaints from someone that there's too many pro players out there winning free games, that's when you maybe increase the difficulty. What you almost certainly are never going to hear, though, is a pro player complain that a table is too easy and that they want the difficulty turned up. Because a pro player, if they want a challenge, can find a challenge almost certainly in another table. Alright, so if I was to cheat here, I can't go up that ramp, which means I can't do any mode. I can't go up that ramp, which means I can't do any mode. And I can't easily make my way to where I need to go. What you can do while cheating, though, is hit these targets, which that's what lights recycling. Didn't realize that's what that was doing. So these are just kickback launches, which arguably you could change those to be single targets instead of 3 that just have to be hit 3 times. And that's what I would do if I was going to modernize this. But this is kind of one of those tables where there's not a lot to change here, really. If you're going to modernize it, put electric cars in the wrecker instead of regular cars. Get a different dog. I mean, put a cat there instead of a dog. I mean, there's not great ideas that I can think of. I mean, I think you would just argue that it is probably the exact same layout. Now, let's see. If I was to hit this target, which really has no reason to exist, that doesn't seem like that lets me convert to toast. These aren't like drop-down targets. They're just standing targets. So you can sneak in. You can spell multiball with the cheating. That's about it. It's kind of funny how this ramp on the left makes it almost feel like there's an upper playfield when there really isn't. So you start multiball, and then if you pull both flippers, it'll start multiball a little bit faster, so you don't have to watch the whole setup. But while you're in multiball, what are you really going to be able to hit? Not a heck of a lot. Because all the other targets are mostly locked. And you can see now's the test. Can you with ball control sneak the ball back up there consistently? Or does that just spell multiball again?
Move it. Hurry.
Yeah. Yeah, with ball control still being awful. It still is pretty pointless. You might have wanted to take Bob out of this and bring in Ted from Red and Ted's. So I guess the question would be, is this table made from the same developer as Red and Ted's? But then you kind of break up Red, and you probably have to break up Red and Ted because whatever the relationship was, they had a country singer, voice actress play Red, and I imagine they would never call back on that voice actress to reprise the role.
No way!
Yeah, I think the best you could do cheating is try to get the magic bus rewards. I don't know if there's any other rewards to even really go for.
hurry, hurry.
And yeah, you can sure cheat for score. But what's the value of what's the value of cheating for score even? And I guess that section over that sinks into it doesn't go any further.
Get away from me! Yeah! Get the dog away from me! Got him!
Now
So-
get the cuckoo clock.
Maybe in cheating you could shoot the ball up the ramp. Toast is actually what I would need. So getting really good at that shot wouldn't be bad. Yeah, I feel like if you could get up here and get the ball to sink, that'd be something, but you can't. So there's just very little to cheat for. And also, I guess very little reason personally for me to cheat, considering how I did perfectly fine on this table without cheating. Yeah, and I think this table does go under that category of if I can't think of any way to improve it. I mean, sure, you might have an interesting thing if one of the ramps popped up and there was a ball that sunk under the ramp. That might be interesting. Maybe you have a under the playfield gimmick instead of the blueprints, you actually show a 3D printed gadget. Generally, if I was going to make a spiritual successor to this, I'd probably just have 10 different pieces of junk and 10 different gadgets, but I don't feel like there's much of a difference that would happen there. I almost feel like you could take a theme like BattleBots to this table and do almost the exact same concept as far as gameplay. Instead of building junk and fighting an evil junkyard owner, you're collecting junk to build a BattleBot.
That's great!
Doing scrapyard wars or junkyard wars.
Yeah!
The devil and the angel on your shoulder still as a concept works. Frankly, it works on almost every table, and it highlights good table design in general because it says that at any point the table is going to tell you a call out to do one of two things, and there are one of two things you can do. I don't want to get invested in this game, I'm just playing for no reason. I don't know how many, if there are 2 or 3 other time travel missions. I suspect if there's even one more, that would be it. Otherwise, I suspect it's just one for whether the devil or the angel is lit or hit last. And this is a very hard table to perfect with its center shot with the blocking crane. And I could see an argument around for little kids just turning the crane off completely and it always being above the flippers.
Great! Now get...
So he knows every time it hits a it hits a flipper, a slingshot, it will flip the light between the devil and the angel.
Yeah. Got him. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I'm getting far too committed in a game that I cheated on.
Come on, get the extra ball.
I should just call it a day.
Extra ball. Radar adventure.
Yep, this table. The thing I'm having a problem with right now, though, is where do I put this table? Is this better than Star Trek The Next Generation? No, I don't think it's varied enough for that. Is it better than Twilight Zone? Yes, I think it is. Because the shots are better designed and there's just more going on. There's more room for more shots compared to Twilight Zone. Is this better than Funhouse? Sadly, I think I have to say yes, it is. So, I think the order of my growing, just off the top of my head, list of my personal favorite pinball tables goes Theater of Magic, Star Trek The Next Generation, Junkyard, Funhouse, Twilight Zone, and after Twilight Zone, need High Speed 1, and then High Speed 2. At some point, I might put Funhouse 2 on the list, very low, past the probably 10th point. But also, I kind of need to see the list of my favorites. I have literally no reason to be playing right now. And that, once again, just highlights how much it stinks to be so penalized when you do cheat. Because if you're cheating in any game, the penalty should mostly be that you're cheating and you know you're cheating, not that you can't accomplish something. But that is the weird thing about achievements and wizard goals and standard goals in general, is that they are distractions, to say the least, from actually playing a game. This sets a nice precedent, and I kind of expected this to do that, where Junkyard is really good. See, if that's a Williams table too, and I bet Red and Ted's is not a Williams table. No, it is a Williams table. So why didn't they bring back Ted? Almost certainly Red and Ted's Roadshow inspired some of the thinking, or at least maybe it's just the same person with the same obsessions. But major improvements also from 1994 to 1996 as far as table design. Alright, well, let's check the leaderboards. I imagine a lot of people play Junkyard. So we have some people with 9,999,000, which seems like that is pretty much the highest highest cheat score you can even put in. So the game must end after slightly before 10 billion. And then when you get down to the 20s, you have people quickly jumping down to like 2 billion score. And then when you get down to the 100s, it's a lot of 2 billion scores, which that at that point makes it feel like you could get 2 billion on this table. Let's see what my score overall puts me in. 12,466 with 34,051 points. 51,400 points. Yeah, okay. that's fine. That seems very reasonable. If we look weekly, playing this on a Sunday, it's just reset, so I'm in the second place. Yeah, not terrible. If anything, what this better highlights is how popular this table is, that 6 people playing this at 9:53 in the morning on Sunday. It highlights how popular this table is in general. Monthly wise, playing this on the 18th day of the month, I'm in the 49th place, and that seems very reasonable too. If anything, getting even in the top 100 does really make me feel like I am doing very, very well in pinball. And I have to admit too that it's not like I play a lot of pinball. I basically went like 10 years plus with not playing any emulated pinball or non-emulated real world pinball, and yet I'm still managing to pull off some pretty great shots. Is there anything we would want to compare this to? Yeah, I wanted to look at the My Table section, and we now have almost 32 tables in our favorites selection. And yeah, I was saying Theater of Magic so far I think is number 1, and then after Theater of Magic, was I saying Junkyard was number 2? No, Star Trek The Next Generation is number 2. And then Junkyard's number 3. And then at that point, I think you play Funhouse. It's number 4. And then I think you play Twilight Zone, which is number 5. And honestly, I think Whirlwind may be even better than Twilight Zone. So maybe Whirlwind number 5 and Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone is just going lower and lower as I consider it. And then High Speed 1, 6, High Speed 2, 7, Jackpot's not terrible, but I'd say Pinbot number 8, Jackpot number 9. And then you start to get into harder to categorize tables that are still worth honorable mentions, like Attack on Mars, Bonsai Run, Big Shot. Let's see, 8-Ball Deluxe or Cue Ball Wizard. Yeah. Cue Ball Wizard is the table that, yeah, I can't imagine in my mind like picking anything above a top 10 list though. Like at that point there's just so much variety in the tables, and it could just be based on my whim or mood of the day, that it really doesn't feel like going above a top 10 list is helpful. Honestly, even having a top 10 list isn't that helpful. The true list is the top 31 list. This is kind of the closest comparison I would say to Junkyard as far as the large commitment to have a giant ball that you would have to hit up there. And they went very deep on that, with then having also a upper playfield with an 8-ball, and then they're taking up a lot of space with the bumpers and the 15 standing targets, which there are, I suppose, probably, I would say 13 standing targets in the back of the crane because of the 2 rows of them, upper and lower targets. And this table does have a mostly empty lower playfield because of that again, and that's fine. Although this table really just has one ramp that goes all the way around, and that's the only ramp shot, and only one sinkhole, whereas Junkyard has scoops and other ramps and other shots. no roundabouts at all on Junkyard, which is kind of nice. The horseshoe concept and the roundabouts are usually underused and underappreciated as far as tables. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there would be, like, determining where Cyclone would be in the top 10 list would be very hard, because it does have that tie-in to Funhouse, but honestly, I don't feel like it being a spiritual sequel to Funhouse makes it good enough alone to put it in the top 10. And I feel like Taxi should be in the top 10 list, but I'm running out of options. I'm running out of numbers to squeeze 11 or 12 games into a top 10 list. Black Knight should be mentioned, and I've kind of forgotten about it completely. Plenty of other tables here are interesting, and then it's not like these other tables that I haven't favorited are insanely uninteresting by any means. They're just not quite as good. I'm still really at only a list of maybe 2 or 3 tables that I probably never want to play ever again. That being said, there is also a high chance that I won't play any of these tables very much or at all for several years, and I may just migrate all of these tables or most of this collection to try and have the same tables in Pinball FX instead and just rebuy everything. Anyways, next time it'll be Safecracker. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.